The January wind cuts through eastern Tennessee like a blade, carrying sleet that turns the exercise yard of Riverbend Maximum Security Penitentiary into a treacherous sheet of ice. Marcus Bennett stands at his cell window on D Block, watching the last inmates shuffle inside before lockdown. 12 years he stood at this same window. 12 years of watching the same routine, the same faces, the same gray sky pressing down on the razor wire like God's own thumbprint. He's 41 now, though the prison records say 43. Small lies become permanent truths in places like this. His hair, once dark brown, has gone silver at the temples. The scar along his left jawline, the one he got 3 months into his sentence when he refused to pick a side in the Aryan Brotherhood's territorial dispute, has faded to a thin white line. Most inmates stop seeing it after a while. They stop seeing Marcus altogether, which is exactly what he's cultivated for over a decade. Bennett, step back from the window. The voice belongs to Officer Rodriguez, a 26-year-old corrections officer who started last September. He's eager this one, still believes the rules mean something. Marcus steps back without turning, his hands visible at his sides. Old habits. In Riverbend, sudden movements get you tased first and questioned never. He moves to his bunk. Bottom, always bottom. He learned that lesson the hard way too, and sits with his back against the concrete wall. The cell is 8 by 10 feet. He's measured it 1,000 times with his eyes. 880 nights in this exact space. 880 nights since the conviction. The metallic clang of the cell door closing echoes down D Block, followed by the synchronized slam of 63 other doors. The sound used to make Marcus flinch. Now it's just another heartbeat in the prison's rhythm. Through the ventilation grate above his toilet, he can hear Big Jake Thompson and D47 arguing with someone about a basketball game. 3 cells down, Preston Marks is crying again. He does that most Thursdays around 8:15 when his daughter's scheduled call doesn't come through. Marcus pulls out the book tucked under his mattress. East of Eden by Steinbeck. He's read it 47 times. It's not his favorite. That would be The Count of Monte Cristo. But someone stabbed Willie Ortega with that one back in 2019, and the warden banned it from D Block. Marcus opens to page 247, but he's not reading. He's listening. The ventilation system in Riverbend is a relic from 1989, before the modern renovations. It carries sound in strange ways, creating acoustic channels that most inmates never notice. Marcus noticed them in his second week. By his third month, he'd mapped every conversation corridor, every auditory blind spot. Knowledge is survival. Silence is strength. Tonight something's different. Through the grate underneath Big Jake's argument and Preston's muffled sobs, there's another sound. Rhythmic. Metal on metal. Very faint. 3 taps. Pause, 2 taps. Pause, 3 taps. It's coming from somewhere in the maintenance level below D Block, where inmates never go, where only certain guards have access. Marcus closes his eyes, focusing. The pattern repeats. It's not random. It's too precise, too deliberate. Someone's working on something down there and they're trying to be quiet about it. In Riverbend, quiet work is never good work. Lights out in 5. Officer Chen's voice booms through the PA system. 5 minutes, ladies. The fluorescent lights that have been humming overhead for 16 hours will soon go dark, replaced by the dim red emergency strips that run along the floor. Marcus has learned to see perfectly in that crimson half-light. Another skill from another life. He sets the book aside and lies down, hands folded on his chest, staring at the ceiling where someone before him scratched, "God is dead," into the concrete. Marcus traced his fingers over those letters his first night, when he still believed he might see the outside world again, when he still believed truth mattered. The tapping stops. Marcus's pulse doesn't change. He's trained it not to, but every sense sharpens. In the sudden silence, he hears Rodriguez walking the block, keys jangling. He hears the industrial heaters kicking on, cycling warm air that smells like disinfectant and unwashed bodies. He hears someone in A Block screaming about spiders that aren't there. Meth psychosis, probably. That's been going around. Then he hears something else. Footsteps. Multiple sets. Heavy boots, but moving carefully. They're in the administrative corridor that runs parallel to D Block, the one that connects to the warden's office and the guard break room. 4 people, maybe 5, walking with purpose but without the usual authority of guard movement. These people don't want to be noticed. The lights cut out. In the red-tinged darkness, Marcus sits up. His cellmate Darnell Washington, serving 15 for armed robbery, gets out in 3 years if he keeps clean, snores softly on the top bunk. Good. Darnell's a decent guy, keeps to himself, doesn't ask questions. He doesn't need to be awake for whatever's about to happen. The footsteps stop somewhere near the central control hub for D Block. That's where Officer Rodriguez sits, monitoring cameras and controlling door locks. It's supposed to be secure. Bulletproof glass, reinforced steel door, panic button wired directly to the warden's office and the state police barracks 15 miles away. Marcus slides off his bunk, moving to the cell door. Through the narrow window, he can see Rodriguez at his station, head down, probably scrolling through his phone. The kid does that during night shift when he thinks no one's watching. Behind him, in the corridor Marcus can't quite see, shadows move. What happens next takes 4 seconds. The control hub door opens. It shouldn't be able to open from outside without proper credentials. And 3 figures in corrections uniforms rush Rodriguez. The young officer starts to turn, starts to reach for his radio, but a hand clamps over his mouth. There's a brief struggle, Rodriguez's chair scraping against the floor, and then stillness. They've subdued him. No shots fired. No alarm triggered. Marcus watches as they drag Rodriguez's unconscious body aside. One of the figures sits at the control station, fingers moving across the keyboard. The others stand guard, and Marcus can see now they're carrying weapons. Not standard-issue tasers and batons. These are compact submachine guns, MP5s, if he's identifying correctly in the dim light. The kind of weapons that have no business being inside a prison. Professional, coordinated, catastrophically wrong. The man at the computer looks up, and even through the bulletproof glass, even in the red emergency light, Marcus recognizes him. Officer James Whitmore, 7-year veteran of Riverbend security staff, married, 2 kids, coaches Little League on weekends. Marcus has observed him 1,000 times. Whitmore's straight, or at least he was. Whitmore's fingers dance across the keyboard, and Marcus hears it, the pneumatic hiss of locks disengaging. Not just on D Block, everywhere. The sound echoes through the ventilation system, traveling through the entire facility. A Block, B Block, C Block, E Block, isolation, maximum security. Every cell door in Riverbend Maximum Security Penitentiary just unlocked simultaneously. For a moment there's silence, confused silence. 2,000 inmates processing impossible information. Then chaos erupts, shouts, crashes, the sound of metal doors slamming open, running feet. Somewhere in A Block someone starts laughing, high and manic. The prison's emergency sirens finally begin wailing, but it's too late. Way too late. Marcus Bennett doesn't move. While around him D Block explodes into motion, inmates pouring from cells, some confused, some opportunistic, some violent. He stands perfectly still at his cell door, watching Whitmore and his team move with military precision toward the armory access corridor. This isn't a riot. This is a breakout. Planned, funded, and executed by people with resources and training. And Marcus Bennett, prisoner 847392, convicted murderer serving life without parole, knows exactly what's about to happen next because he's seen operations like this before. From the other side. Darnell Washington tumbles from his bunk, disoriented. Marcus, what's happening? Marcus finally speaks, his voice calm despite the pandemonium erupting around them. Stay in the cell, Darnell. Lock yourself in if you can. Don't go out there. But the doors, I know. Don't go out there. Darnell stares at him, processing something in Marcus's tone that doesn't match a man who's been locked up for 12 years. Processing something in Marcus's posture, balanced, alert, ready, that doesn't match the quiet lifer who reads Steinbeck and never causes trouble. Who are you? Darnell whispers. Marcus doesn't answer. He's watching Whitmore disappear down the corridor, toward the armory where Riverbend keeps riot gear, body armor, and enough weapons to equip a small war. If they reach it, if they arm the inmates they've clearly recruited for this operation, the body count will be catastrophic. Guards will die. Civilians in the nearby town will die when armed convicts scatter into the Tennessee night. And Marcus Bennett, who has stayed silent for 12 years, who has let the world believe he's a killer, who has accepted his fate to protect operations and operatives whose names he'll never speak, suddenly faces a choice he thought he'd never have to make again. Break cover and stop this, exposing everything, or stay silent and let innocent people die. His hands are steady as he pushes his cell door open. Around him, D-block is chaos. 2 inmates are already fighting over something. Others are running toward the exit corridor seeking escape. No one notices Marcus Bennett stepping into the red-lit hallway, moving against the current, heading toward the control hub where Rodriguez lies unconscious. 12 years of silence. 12 years of becoming invisible, all about to end. Marcus reaches the control station, checks Rodriguez's pulse, steady, thank God, and looks at the computer screen Whitmore left active. Security feeds show the entire prison descending into pandemonium, but his focus locks on camera 7, the armory corridor. Whitmore and his team are 40 seconds from reaching it. Marcus's fingers hover over the keyboard. He can still stop this. Lock the armory. Trigger the lockdown protocols that will seal the prison into segments, save lives. But the moment he touches those keys, the moment he demonstrates knowledge he shouldn't have, someone will start asking questions. Questions that lead to answers that get people killed. His daughter's face flashes through his mind. Sarah. She was 11 when he went away. 23 now. Graduated from college last spring. He watched the ceremony on a grainy laptop in the prison library, one of his quarterly earned privileges. She thinks her father is a murderer. It's safer that way. Governor Nathan Cross's face follows. Marcus has seen him on television, giving speeches about tough-on-crime policies, about justice and order. Cross doesn't know the truth. Almost no one does. The operation was buried so deep that when it went wrong, when Marcus became the liability instead of the asset, burning him was easy, cleaner than explaining. 40 seconds becomes 30. Marcus Bennett takes a breath, makes his choice. His fingers hit the keyboard with the speed and precision of someone who's done this before. Commands flow through the system. Armory. Emergency lock. Corridor 7. Blast doors engage. Security feeds. Reroute to Warden's personal backup system, creating a record that can't be erased. Guard stations. Silent alarm to state police. Encrypted channel that bypasses local dispatch. Whitmore's team reaches the armory door just as it slams shut. Through the security feed, Marcus sees their confusion, then rage. One of them pulls out a radio, speaking rapidly. They know someone interfered. Marcus is already moving. He grabs Rodriguez's taser and baton, leaves the unconscious officer in a recovery position, and heads into D-block's chaos. The corridor erupts in violence before Marcus takes 3 steps. 2 inmates from C-block, both serving time for aggravated assault, burst through the connecting passage, their eyes wild with the feral energy of men who've suddenly tasted freedom. The larger one, a mountain of scar tissue and prison tattoos named Dwight Hammer Carson, spots Marcus and grins with broken teeth. Bennett. Sweet, quiet Bennett. Hammer's voice booms over the chaos. No guards to hide behind now, old man. Been wanting to test you for years. Marcus doesn't respond. He's tracking 17 variables simultaneously. Exits, weapon positions, threat assessments, civilian locations. It's like muscle memory returning after a long sleep. Except this muscle memory was forged in places that officially don't exist, during operations that were never recorded. Hammer charges, surprisingly fast for his size. His partner circles left, looking for an opening. Standard pack tactics. They've done this before, probably in a dozen prison yards, overwhelming isolated targets through coordination and brutality. Marcus waits until Hammer closes to 8 feet, then moves. The taser catches Hammer in the solar plexus, 50,000 volts dropping him like a felled tree. His partner hesitates. Fatal mistake. And Marcus is already inside his guard, the baton striking the median nerve in his arm with surgical precision. The inmate's weapon, a sharpened piece of cafeteria metal, clatters to the concrete. A follow-up strike to the back of his knee puts him down, controlled and efficient. 7 seconds. 2 threats neutralized. 0 fatalities. From his cell, Darnell Washington watches with his mouth open. So do a dozen other inmates who've emerged to witness the chaos. They're seeing something that doesn't compute with 12 years of Marcus Bennett being the invisible man, the quiet lifer who never caused problems. Back in your cells. Marcus's voice carries command authority that makes several inmates actually step backward. This isn't a riot, it's an execution. They're going to use you as cover and cut you down when you're no longer useful. Get back inside and live through the night. Some listen, most don't. The promise of freedom, even temporary freedom, is a drug more powerful than reason. Marcus moves through D Block toward the main corridor, following the route Whitmore's team took. Around him, Riverbend is consuming itself. Fire alarms shriek. Emergency lights pulse red. The prison's automated systems are locked in conflict. Lockdown protocols fighting against whatever override Whitmore used. In the distance, Marcus hears gunfire. Real gunfire, not the pop of riot guns. The operation is proceeding despite the armory lockdown. They brought weapons in with them. Officer Chen stumbles around a corner, blood streaming from a gash on her forehead. She sees Marcus, sees the taser in his hand, and her training takes over. She reaches for her sidearm. Empty holster. Someone already disarmed her. Officer Chen. Marcus keeps his voice level, non-threatening. How many are there? How many attackers? She blinks, processing. Bennett? What, you should be... How many? Something in his tone cuts through her shock. At least 8, maybe more. They hit 3 guard stations simultaneously. Rodriguez, Martinez, Deshawn, all down. They're herding inmates toward the East Wing. Her eyes widen. Oh God, the East Wing. That's where the transport bay. Marcus finishes. They're planning to load inmates into prison transfer buses. Use them as hostages or soldiers, depending on how this plays out. Chen stares at him. How do you know that? Marcus doesn't answer. He's already calculating. The transport bay has 2 exits. One leading to the main gate, controlled by the tower guards, and one leading to the maintenance tunnels that run under the prison. Old tunnels, supposedly sealed after the 2015 inspection. But if Whitmore's team has been planning this for months, maybe years, those tunnels are very much open. Can you walk? Marcus asks. Chen nods, still staring at him like he's speaking a foreign language. Then get to the warden's office. The silent alarm is active. State police are coming, but they don't know the full scope. Tell them it's not a riot. Tell them it's an extraction operation. Armed hostiles, military training, and they're using the maintenance tunnels. Can you remember that? Extraction operation, maintenance tunnels. But Bennett, how do you... An explosion rocks the building. Not massive, but precisely placed. The lights flicker and die completely. Even the emergency strips. For 5 seconds, Riverbend Maximum Security Penitentiary is utterly black. Then the backup generators kick in, but the lighting is scattered now. Whole sections lost to darkness. Marcus recognizes the tactic immediately. Shaped charges on the electrical junction boxes. Create confusion, limit visibility, make coordinated defense impossible. He's used the same playbook himself in Kabul, in Caracas, in places whose names he signed agreements never to speak. When the lights return, Chen is gone, smart woman following orders. Marcus is alone in the corridor with the distant sounds of chaos echoing through ventilation shafts and stairwells. He moves toward the East Wing, staying low, using the shadows that 12 years of observation have taught him to exploit. The first body stops him cold. Officer Martinez, 29 years old, engaged to a teacher from Nashville, dead in a pool of blood, 3 bullets center mass. Professional shooting, no warning, no hesitation. These aren't criminals looking to escape. These are operators executing a mission. Marcus kneels beside Martinez, closes the young man's eyes, and takes his radio. It's tuned to the guard frequency, currently a cacophony of panicked voices and conflicting orders. He switches to channel 7, the emergency frequency that's supposed to be encrypted. It's not. Whitmore's team is using it. Secondary package secured, primary resistance eliminated. Tiger 1, what's your status? Blocked at the armory. Someone locked us out. That's Whitmore's voice, tight with controlled anger. Switching to contingency. We'll arm up from the secured cache in sub-level 2. Another voice, calm and cold. Casualties? 1 guard down. Acceptable losses. We're still within operational parameters. Good. The extraction window closes in 18 minutes. After that, the state police barricade will be impassable. Move your assets to the transport bay. I'll handle the tunnel clearance. Marcus recognizes that last voice. It sends ice through his veins because it's impossible. Captain Sarah Vickers. He served with her. Trusted her. She was supposed to be dead, killed in the same operation that burned Marcus. The operation that officially never happened. But dead women don't coordinate prison breaks. The radio crackles again. What about the interference? Someone with system access shut us down. A pause. When Vickers speaks again, her voice carries the edge of someone solving an unexpected equation. Interesting. We're in a maximum security prison. Who inside these walls has both the capability and the reason to interfere with our operation? Marcus can hear the gears turning in her tactical mind, the same mind that made her one of the most effective operators in their unit. She's asking the right question, which means she'll find the right answer. He has minutes, maybe less, before Vickers realizes who's opposing her. The transport bay is 300 yards through hostile territory. Whitmore's team will have secured the route, posted guards, eliminated resistance, standard operational procedure. But standard doesn't account for someone who knows their playbook, because he wrote parts of it. Marcus moves through the darkness with the practiced ease of a man returning to his native environment. Past the cafeteria where a small fire burns unattended. Past B block where inmates are tearing apart their cells in misguided celebration of freedom. Past the infirmary where Dr. Helena Price is barricaded inside with 6 inmates who chose safety over chaos. He reaches the East Wing checkpoint and finds 3 more bodies. 2 guards, 1 inmate who was in the wrong place. All shot with the same clinical efficiency. This isn't about minimizing casualties. This is about eliminating obstacles. Ahead, the corridor opens into the transport bay, a massive space that can hold 6 buses and processing stations for inmate transfers. The lights are still functional here, harsh fluorescence revealing a nightmare in motion. Whitmore's team has assembled approximately 40 inmates, all from maximum security blocks. These aren't random prisoners. Marcus recognizes faces from intelligence briefs he read in another life. Sergei Volkov, Russian Bratva enforcer serving triple life for murder and racketeering. James Prophet Williams, domestic terrorist with ties to militia groups. Chen Wei, Chinese national convicted of espionage and industrial sabotage. These men aren't being broken out randomly. They're being extracted intentionally. High-value assets with skills, connections, and reasons for someone on the outside to want them free. Vickers stands in the center of the bay, no longer in a guard uniform but in tactical black, an assault rifle slung across her chest. She's orchestrating the operation with hand signals, positioning her team, checking her watch. 17 minutes left. Marcus stays in the shadows, assessing. 8 armed operators, 40 inmates, 2 buses already running. The maintenance tunnel entrance is visible, a heavy steel door that should be locked but stands open, revealing darkness beyond. That's their exit route. Once they're in those tunnels, they'll emerge miles from Riverbend, probably with vehicles waiting. He can't stop this alone, not without revealing everything he's capable of, not without becoming the ghost he's been pretending to be dead. But if he doesn't stop it, these 40 men will disappear into the American landscape, armed and funded by whoever is backing this operation. The body count will climb into the hundreds, maybe thousands. Marcus Bennett, prisoner 847392, convicted murderer, makes his second choice of the night. He steps into the light. Hello, Sarah. The effect is instantaneous. Every weapon in the transport bay swings toward him. 40 inmates freeze. Whitmore's jaw drops. But Vickers, Captain Sarah Vickers, who supposedly died 12 years ago in an operation that officially never happened, stares at Marcus like she's seeing a ghost. Because to her, he is one. Marcus? Her voice cracks on his name, genuine shock breaking through operational control. You're supposed to be. Dead? Marcus walks forward, hands visible but not raised, non-threatening but not submissive. We both were, Sarah. That was the deal. They burned us to protect the operation, except I took the fall and the prison sentence, and you, he gestures at the organized chaos around them, apparently took a different arrangement. Vickers recovers quickly, professionalism sliding back into place, but her weapon hasn't lowered. You don't understand what's happening here. I understand you're breaking out 40 high-value targets using military-grade tactics and insider access. I understand there's a larger operation behind this. What I don't understand is why Captain Sarah Vickers, who I watched take a bullet for her team in Kandahar, is now working for whoever pays for this kind of extraction. The operators are getting nervous, fingers on triggers, waiting for Vickers' signal. The inmates sense the tension, some backing toward the buses, others calculating whether this confrontation creates opportunities. Stand down, Marcus. Vickers' voice hardens. You've been out of the game for 12 years. You don't know what's changed. You don't know what we're really doing. Then tell me. I can't. For a moment, genuine regret crosses her face. And you can't stop this. Even if you somehow learned to fight in prison, and looking at you, maybe you did. You're one man against 8 operators and 40 desperate criminals. The math doesn't work. Marcus glances at his watch. 15 minutes until your window closes. State police are probably setting up roadblocks now. Every second you spend talking to me is a second closer to mission failure. Vickers studies him, and Marcus can see her tactical assessment. Neutralize the threat or bypass it. Killing him costs time and creates complications. Leaving him creates bigger complications. She makes her decision. Whitmore, secure Bennett. We're moving in 2 minutes. 3 operators move toward Marcus, weapons trained. The closest is Whitmore, who looks torn between following orders and asking questions. Behind them, Vickers is already directing inmates onto the buses, her attention divided, which is what Marcus was counting on. He moves. Marcus moves like water finding cracks in stone. Fluid. Inevitable. Faster than Whitmore's training prepared him for. The first operator reaches for him, and Marcus redirects the grab into a joint lock that puts the man face first into the concrete. The borrowed taser finds the second operator's neck before he can fully raise his weapon. Whitmore manages to bring his rifle up, but Marcus is already inside his range, hand clamping on the barrel, twisting, and Whitmore's own momentum sends him stumbling backward into a stack of transport crates. 4 seconds, 3 threats down, non-lethal, controlled. The remaining operators open fire. Marcus is already moving, using the buses as cover, rounds sparking off metal and shattering windows. The inmates scatter, some diving for cover, others rushing the tunnel entrance in panic. The careful organization of Vickers' operation dissolves into chaos, exactly what Marcus intended. Cease fire! Vickers' voice cuts through the gunfire. Cease fire! You'll hit the assets! The shooting stops, but the damage is done. 2 inmates are wounded, bleeding on the concrete. Others are fighting to be first into the tunnel, creating a bottleneck. The timeline is collapsing. Vickers knows it. Marcus can see the calculation in her eyes. Abort or push through. She chooses to push. Everyone into the tunnel, now! Her operators move to corral the inmates, weapons raised, professionalism overriding chaos. Vickers backs toward the tunnel entrance herself, her rifle trained on the bus Marcus is using as cover. This isn't over, Marcus. You just signed death warrants, yours and people you care about. Sarah, don't do this, Marcus calls out, genuinely trying to reach whatever's left of the woman he once served beside. Whatever they promised you, whatever deal you made, it's not worth this. You don't know what you're talking about. Something raw breaks through her controlled exterior. You were out, safe, playing dead in your concrete box while the rest of us were still fighting wars that don't end, Marcus. Wars nobody even knows about. They don't pin medals on ghosts. They don't pay pensions to people who officially don't exist. The last of the inmates disappear into the tunnel. Vickers is at the entrance now, one hand on the steel door. The Bennett I knew wouldn't have become this, Marcus says quietly, but his voice carries in the sudden stillness. The Bennett I knew died 12 years ago. Vickers pulls the door closed, and Marcus hears the heavy locks engage from inside. The governor's going to want to know how you stopped this, Marcus. How a convicted killer serving life suddenly had the skills to disrupt a military operation. Better have your story ready. Then she's gone, the tunnel sealed, and Marcus is alone in the transport bay with unconscious operators, wounded inmates, and the wail of approaching sirens finally growing closer. He sits down on the concrete, suddenly feeling every one of his 41 years, and waits for the reckoning he knew was coming. The state police arrive in force 11 minutes later. SWAT teams, tactical units, helicopters circling overhead with searchlights cutting through the January night. They find Riverbend in chaos but not lost. Fires contained, most inmates back in cells or surrendered, guards wounded but alive. The death toll could have been catastrophic. Instead, it's contained to 4. 3 guards murdered during the initial assault, 1 inmate who tried to fight his way through a security checkpoint. 4 deaths is 4 too many, but it's not the massacre it could have been. They find Marcus Bennett sitting calmly in the transport bay, surrounded by unconscious operators and wounded inmates, and nobody knows what to make of it. The SWAT commander, a grizzled veteran named Lieutenant Frank Morrison, approaches with his rifle trained on Marcus's center mass. "Hands where I can see them, face down on the ground." Marcus complies without resistance, his movements slow and deliberate. He's zip-tied, searched, and hauled to his feet while Morrison's team secures the scene. An EMT checks his vitals, pulse steady, no signs of injury or intoxication. He's completely calm, like a man who's done this before. "How many were there?" Morrison demands. "How many got away?" 8 operators, approximately 37 high-value inmates. Marcus's voice is flat, factual. They escaped through the maintenance tunnels. The entrance is sealed from inside, but they'll have exit points mapped throughout the system. If you move fast, you might catch them before they reach their extraction vehicles. Morrison stares at him. "Who the hell are you?" "Prisoner 847392, Marcus Bennett, serving life for murder." "That's not what I asked." Marcus says nothing, his eyes distant, already calculating what comes next. Morrison's radio crackles with reports. Tunnel entrances being discovered and breached but empty. Vickers's team moved fast. They're gone, vanished into the Tennessee night with 40 of the most dangerous men in the state. "Get him to isolation," Morrison orders. "Nobody talks to him without my clearance. And somebody find Warden Price. We need to know how the hell this happened." They march Marcus through the prison, past inmates pressed against cell bars, past guards with shocked expressions, past the bodies covered with sheets. The facility is returning to lockdown, but it's a brittle order, trauma held together by adrenaline and procedure. In isolation, a concrete box even smaller than his cell, with a steel door and no windows. Marcus sits in silence and waits. He knows what's coming because he's seen this pattern before. The investigation will start local, but it won't stay local. A coordinated assault on a maximum security prison, military-grade tactics, insider help. This has federal implications. FBI, probably Homeland Security, maybe agencies with acronyms the public doesn't know. And when they start pulling threads, when they start asking how a convicted murderer serving life somehow had the knowledge and capability to disrupt a sophisticated extraction operation, questions will lead to his file. His real file. The one that's sealed under national security protocols, buried so deep that accessing it requires authorization from people who don't officially supervise anything. The door opens 6 hours later. Marcus hasn't slept. A man in a dark suit enters carrying a tablet and an expression of carefully controlled anger. FBI, Marcus guesses. Maybe 35, sharp eyes, expensive haircut. Someone on a fast track who just got derailed by a case that's going to consume months of his life. "Mr. Bennett, I'm Special Agent Ryan Torres, FBI. You want to tell me what happened tonight? There was an attempted breakout. I witnessed part of it." You witnessed part of it. Torres's voice dripped skepticism. According to 3 corrections officers and approximately 15 inmates, you single-handedly disrupted the operation in the transport bay, took down multiple armed assailants, knew tactical details about the escape route. Want to revise your statement? No. Torres sits down across from Marcus, the steel table between them. Your prison record is remarkably clean. 12 years, barely any infractions, model prisoner, keeps to himself, never causes trouble. Yet somehow, when armed operators stage a prison break, you transform into Jason Bourne. Help me understand that. Marcus remains silent. He's played this game before, in interrogation rooms on 3 continents. The first rule: never volunteer information. Let them ask specific questions. Answer only what's necessary. Your original conviction, Torres continues, pulling up files on his tablet. Murder of Terrence Gibson, a convenience store clerk in Nashville. Prosecution said it was a robbery gone wrong. You maintained your innocence throughout the trial, but the evidence was overwhelming. DNA, fingerprints, weapon residue, open and shut. That's what the jury decided, except it doesn't make sense. Torres leans forward. Your background before the arrest: spotty employment records, vague military service with honorable discharge, no criminal history. Then suddenly you commit a brutal murder for $300. The psychological profile doesn't fit. Marcus says nothing, but internally he's impressed. Torres is smart. He's seeing the inconsistencies that everyone else missed or ignored 12 years ago. The case was too clean, the evidence too perfect. It should have raised red flags, but nobody wanted to look too closely at a case that solved itself. And now this. Torres gestures vaguely at the prison around them. You demonstrate capabilities that suggest extensive training. Military? Law enforcement? Something else entirely? The door opens again. A woman enters, late 40s, severe business suit, government ID clipped to her belt. She whispers something to Torres, and his expression shifts from irritation to shock. What do you mean, sealed? Torres demands, keeping his voice low but not low enough. I have federal authority, not high enough for this file. The woman's voice is crisp, final. Your investigation stops at this man's involvement. Focus on the escapees, the operators, the security breach. Marcus Bennett is no longer your concern. The hell he isn't. He's the key to understanding. Agent Torres. The woman's tone could freeze water. You're a good investigator. You have a promising career. Don't end it by pushing doors that won't open. Clear? Torres looks between the woman and Marcus, his jaw tight with frustration. Finally, he stands. This isn't over. For you, it is, the woman replies. Torres leaves, and the woman sits down in his place. She studies Marcus with eyes that have seen classified briefings and authorized operations that leave bodies in their wake. Marcus knows her type because he used to brief people like her. Marcus Bennett. She doesn't offer a name or credentials. You've created a significant problem. I stopped a prison break. You exposed capabilities that raise questions that lead to answers that are still classified. She places a phone on the table, an old model burner. You have one call. Make it count. Marcus stares at the phone. He hasn't made a phone call in 12 years. The people he might call are either dead, deep undercover, or have moved on to lives that don't include ghosts from failed operations. But there's one person who might still have the clearance and the willingness to help. He picks up the phone and dials a number he memorized in a different life. It rings 4 times before connecting. Yes? The voice is older, more tired than Marcus remembers, but unmistakable. Colonel Mitchell, it's Marcus Bennett. I need to speak with someone who still remembers Operation Nightfall. Silence on the other end stretching so long, Marcus thinks the connection dropped. Then, Jesus Christ, Marcus, you're supposed to be. Where are you calling from? Riverbend Maximum Security. There's been an incident. People are going to start asking questions about my file. You broke protocol. I stopped a massacre. Sarah Vickers is alive, Colonel. She's running operations for someone. Military-grade extractions, high-value targets, someone with serious resources. Another pause. Stay where you are. Don't talk to anyone else. I'll handle this. The line goes dead. Marcus sets down the phone. The woman across from him shows no expression, but she's noted the conversation, filed it away. She stands, takes the phone, and heads for the door. What happens now? Marcus asks. She pauses at the threshold. That depends on what your Colonel Mitchell can negotiate. But Mr. Bennett, Marcus, you're visible now. You can't go back to being invisible. That kind of exposure gets people killed. I'm already serving life. Dead is just a different kind of permanent. I wasn't talking about you. She leaves and the door locks behind her. Marcus is alone again with his thoughts and the weight of choices made. He thinks about Sarah Vickers, alive and operational after 12 years. He thinks about the extracted inmates, 40 dangerous men now loose in the world. He thinks about his daughter Sarah, safe in ignorance, and how long that safety will last if the wrong people start connecting dots. Most of all, he thinks about what Colonel Mitchell said. You're supposed to be. Supposed to be what? Dead? Forgotten? Safely buried under a false conviction while the operations continued without him? 12 years he's wondered who set him up, who decided Marcus Bennett was acceptable collateral damage. 12 years of silence, accepting his fate to protect operations and operatives whose lives depended on his discretion. But silence has a cost, and tonight he paid it. Or started to. The door opens again 12 hours later. Marcus hasn't slept, existing in the hyper-aware state that used to be his normal during operations. A corrections officer he doesn't recognize gestures for him to stand. You're being transferred. Federal custody. Where? Above my pay grade. Let's go. They walk through Riverbend's administrative wing, past offices empty in the pre-dawn darkness. The prison is quiet now, locked down tight, investigation teams combing through every inch. Outside, a black SUV waits, engine running, windows tinted. Marcus is loaded into the back seat. 2 federal marshals flank him, professional and silent. The SUV pulls away from Riverbend Maximum Security Penitentiary as the eastern sky begins to lighten, January cold seeping through the vehicle's heating system. They drive for 30 minutes, leaving Nashville behind, heading into rural Tennessee. Marcus watches the landscape, rolling hills, scattered farms, the kind of country where people mind their own business and strangers are noticed. The SUV turns onto a private road marked only by a number on a reflective post. The building that emerges from the morning mist is nondescript. Could be a corporate retreat or a government facility, designed to look unremarkable. The SUV enters an underground garage, and Marcus is escorted through security checkpoints with biometric scanners and armed guards. Finally, a conference room. Clean, modern, with windows overlooking a frozen lake. And sitting at the head of the table, wearing the gray suit of civilian life, but with the bearing of command still evident, is Colonel Richard Mitchell. He's older, 68 now, hair completely white, lines carved deep around his eyes, but those eyes are still sharp, still calculating. He stands when Marcus enters. Marcus, sit down. The marshals leave. It's just the 2 of them, former commander and former operative, separated by 12 years and a lifetime of classified silence. You look good, Mitchell says, which they both know is a lie. Prison treating you well? Colonel, why am I here? Mitchell sits back down, gestures for Marcus to do the same. Because Governor Nathan Cross wants to meet you, personally. He's been briefed on the basics, enough to understand you're not who your conviction says you are. He has questions. Questions I can't answer. Questions that might need answers now. Mitchell slides a file across the table. Operation Nightfall. You remember it? As if Marcus could forget. The operation that ended his career, his freedom, his life outside prison walls. I remember. It's not over, Marcus. We thought it was. We buried you, eliminated the threats we knew about, sealed the records. But last night proves we missed something. Someone. Sarah Vickers didn't die in that warehouse in Caracas. She was turned or bought or somehow compromised, and she's been operating for 12 years under our radar. Marcus opens the file. Photos, surveillance reports, intercepted communications. The evidence of a shadow network operating within the United States with military precision and serious funding. And at its heart, familiar faces, operators from Nightfall, people who were supposed to be dead or retired. How deep does this go? Marcus asks quietly. That's what Governor Cross wants to know. And that's why you're the only person who can help us find out. Mitchell meets his eyes. The extraction last night, those 40 inmates, they weren't random. Each one has specialized skills, weapons expertise, explosives, cyber warfare, international connections. Someone is building an army, Marcus, an army of ghosts and criminals hidden in plain sight. And you want me to hunt them. I want you to survive long enough to testify. But yes, eventually, we'll need you to hunt them. Mitchell closes the file. First, though, you need to convince Governor Cross that you're worth the political risk of releasing, because that's what this is, a political calculation. He pardons a convicted murderer based on classified information he's not fully cleared to know, and if it goes wrong, his career is over. Why would he take that risk? Because 40 dangerous men are loose in his state and the body count is going to climb. Because federal agencies are going to descend on Tennessee asking questions he can't answer. And because... Mitchell hesitates, then continues. Nathan Cross is a good man. He actually believes in justice. When I told him your conviction was engineered to protect a classified operation, he wanted to know the truth. All of it. How much truth can you tell him? Enough. Not everything, but enough that he'll understand you're not the villain your prison record claims. The door opens. A tall man in his early 50s enters, Governor Nathan Cross, recognizable from television but more imposing in person. He has the build of a former athlete, gray threading through dark hair and eyes that take in everything with keen intelligence. Mr. Bennett. Cross extends his hand, a gesture so unexpected that Marcus hesitates before shaking it. Thank you for stopping what could have been a catastrophe. I didn't do it for gratitude, Governor. I know. You did it because it was right. Cross sits down, and there's something in his directness that reminds Marcus why Mitchell said he was a good man. Colonel Mitchell has briefed me on some of your background. Enough to know your conviction was fabricated. Enough to know you've been protecting classified operations by staying silent. That hasn't changed. Maybe it should. Cross leans forward. 40 dangerous men escaped last night. The FBI is investigating, but they're hampered by the fact that your involvement raises questions nobody with clearance will answer. Meanwhile, those men are out there planning God knows what. I need to know. Can you help us find them? Marcus looks at Mitchell, then back to Cross. If I help, I expose everything. The operations, the people still in the field, the networks we built. That information gets people killed. And if you don't help, innocent civilians get killed. Cross doesn't back down. I'm not asking you to betray your country, Marcus. I'm asking you to save lives. There has to be a middle path. In my experience, Governor, middle paths get everyone killed. Cross studies him for a long moment. You have a daughter, Sarah Bennett, 23, lives in Chicago, works as a graphic designer. She doesn't know the truth about her father. Marcus's expression doesn't change, but inside his heart rate spikes. That's not relevant. It is if someone decides your daughter becomes leverage. The people running this operation, they know you interfered last night. They'll be looking for pressure points. Cross slides a photograph across the table. It's recent, shows Sarah leaving her apartment, coffee in hand, smiling at something on her phone. This was taken 3 hours ago, by my security team assigned to protect her. But how long before someone else takes an interest in Sarah Bennett? It's a play, a calculated political move to force Marcus's cooperation, and he knows it. But it's also true. The moment he became visible, everyone connected to him became vulnerable. What are you proposing? Marcus asked carefully. Conditional pardon. You work with a joint task force to locate and neutralize the escaped inmates and whoever organized the extraction. You provide intelligence and expertise, within boundaries you and Colonel Mitchell define. In exchange, you get your freedom, protection for your daughter, and a chance to clear your name. Eventually. And if I refuse? Then you go back to Riverbend, serve out your life sentence and hope your daughter stays lucky. Cross stands. I'm not threatening you, Marcus. I'm telling you reality. You broke cover. There's no going back to invisible. You can work with us and maybe protect the people you care about. Or you can maintain operational silence and watch from a prison cell while your past destroys your future. Marcus looks at the photograph of his daughter, smiling and oblivious, and feels the weight of 12 years of sacrifice compressing into this single moment. I need guarantees. For Sarah, full protection, new identity if necessary. Done. And I need operational authority. If I'm hunting these people, I do it my way, not hampered by jurisdictional bureaucracy. Cross glances at Mitchell, who nods slightly. Within reason. Marcus stands, facing the governor directly. Then let's go meet the man who wants to see me so badly. Let's find out what Governor Nathan Cross is really made of when classified operations start bleeding into public reality. Cross smiles, grim but genuine. Welcome back to the world, Mr. Bennett. Try not to let it kill you this time. The safe house is 40 miles outside Nashville, hidden in farm country where the nearest neighbor is a mile away and strangers are immediately noticed. Marcus arrives in a different vehicle, an unmarked sedan driven by a federal marshal who never speaks, and finds himself in what looks like a renovated barn. Inside, it's pure operational command, computer terminals, encrypted communication equipment, tactical maps of Tennessee covering the walls, and photographs of all 40 escaped inmates arranged in clusters. Special Agent Torres is already there, looking exhausted and irritated. He barely glances at Marcus when he enters, his focus on a laptop screen displaying security footage from Riverbend. Also present, Colonel Mitchell, Governor Cross, and a woman Marcus doesn't recognize, mid-30s athletic build with the careful posture of someone who's spent time in hostile environments. Mr. Bennett, this is Agent Lisa Chen, FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit. Cross makes the introduction. She's been profiling the escaped inmates and the extraction team's methodology. Agent Chen extends her hand. I've read your file, the parts I'm cleared for anyway. Impressive work stopping the breakout. Just did what needed doing. Marcus shakes her hand, noting the strength in her grip and the way her eyes assess him, not with suspicion like Torres, but with professional curiosity. Let's get started. Cross moves to the center of the room, where a large table holds files, photographs, and evidence bags. We have 40 escaped inmates, 8 confirmed operators, and a network sophisticated enough to infiltrate a maximum security prison. Agent Torres, brief everyone on what we know. Torres straightens, his professionalism overriding his resentment at being reassigned to work with Marcus. The maintenance tunnels were the primary escape route. We've mapped their exit point to an abandoned quarry 12 miles from Riverbend. Found tire tracks indicating at least 6 vehicles, likely vans or trucks capable of transporting multiple passengers. He pulls up aerial footage on a large monitor. We've established roadblocks and alerts across 3 states, but so far nothing. These people vanished completely within 30 minutes of the breakout. That level of coordination requires extensive planning and resources. The inmates themselves, Agent Chen takes over, moving to the wall of photographs, fall into distinct categories. 15 have military or paramilitary backgrounds. 8 have expertise in cyber warfare and hacking. 12 have international criminal connections. Russian Bratva, Chinese triads, Latin American cartels. The remaining 5 include a demolitions expert, 2 chemists with weapons-grade knowledge, and 2 tactical strategists. She turns to face the group. This wasn't a random selection. Someone curated this list, choosing specific skill sets for specific purposes. We're looking at the foundation of a private military force or a sophisticated criminal organization. Possibly both. Marcus studies the photographs, his trained mind cataloging faces and connecting dots. The distribution is wrong. Everyone turns to him. Torres frowns. What do you mean? If you're building a military force, you need more than specialists. You need infantry, logistics, support personnel. This group is top-heavy with expertise but light on execution. Marcus moves to the wall, pointing to specific clusters. These men aren't foot soldiers. They're planners, trainers, facilitators. Whoever extracted them isn't building an army. They're building a training cadre. Agent Chen's eyes widen. To train others? Fresh recruits with no criminal records? No flags in the system. Exactly. Marcus looks at Colonel Mitchell. It's the same model we used in... He stops himself, aware that Cross and the FBI agents aren't fully cleared. In certain operations overseas, you extract the expertise, relocate them somewhere secure, and use them to train a force that can operate without attracting attention. Where? Torres demands. Where would you hide 40 fugitives and however many recruits they're training? Marcus considers this. Somewhere isolated, somewhere with infrastructure already in place. Housing, training facilities, security perimeter. Somewhere that doesn't attract federal attention because it appears legitimate. That describes half the rural properties in 3 states, Torres says in frustration. Not if you narrow it by recent purchases or leases. Agent Chen is already at her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. Properties acquired in the last 2 years, at least 50 acres, with existing buildings, purchased by shell corporations or holding companies. She pauses, scrolling through results. That still leaves over 200 possibilities. Filter by utilities usage, Marcus suggests. A training operation requires significant power and water. Look for rural properties with urban-level consumption. Chen adjusts her search parameters. The list shrinks. 43 properties. Now cross-reference with properties within 4 hours of Riverbend. They wouldn't transport 40 men across the country on breakout night. Too much exposure. They'd have a staging area relatively close. 21 properties remain. Governor Cross watches this exchange with evident fascination. You're thinking like them. How? Because I've run these operations before, Governor. Different context, different objectives, but the methodology is universal. Marcus points to a property on Chen's screen, a former corporate retreat center in eastern Kentucky, purchased 18 months ago by a company registered in Delaware. That one. Check that one first. Why? Torres asks, skepticism evident. The timing. 18 months ago. This operation took months of planning, infiltrating the prison staff, mapping security systems, coordinating with whoever's funding this. You don't start that process and then scramble to find a training site. You secure your infrastructure first. Marcus leans over Chen's shoulder, studying the property details. 300 acres, multiple buildings rated for occupancy, its own power generation, access to a regional airport 15 miles away. It's perfect. Colonel Mitchell nods slowly. He's right. That property checks every box for a black site training facility. Cross pulls out his phone. I'm authorizing a surveillance operation. Agent Torres, coordinate with state police and FBI tactical. If Bennett's right and we find evidence of the escaped inmates, we move immediately. And if he's wrong? Torres challenges. Then we've lost time but gained information. Cross pockets his phone. Either way, we're taking action. The people of Tennessee expect that much. Torres doesn't look happy, but he nods and steps away to make calls. Agent Chen continues analyzing data, her fingers never stopping. Colonel Mitchell moves to Marcus's side, voice low. You're exposing a lot of operational methodology. The FBI is cataloging everything you say. I know, but if I'm right about what's being built here, we need to stop it now, before it's mature enough to deploy. Marcus keeps his voice equally quiet. Sarah Vickers knew our playbook because she helped write it. Whatever organization she's working for now, they have 12 years of our operational knowledge. We're not chasing amateurs, Colonel, which is why you need to be careful. Governor Cross is a good man, but he's still a politician. If this goes sideways, he'll need someone to blame. Let him blame me. I'm already a convicted murderer. My reputation can't get worse. Mitchell's expression is grim. Your reputation, no. But your life expectancy can. The moment you become a liability instead of an asset. He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. Marcus has seen how agencies handle inconvenient operatives. Sometimes it's a reassignment to a desk job. Sometimes it's a training accident. Sometimes it's a car that goes off a mountain road. Governor Cross returns, his expression troubled. There's been a development. A hostage situation in Chattanooga. 3 armed men holding a bank, demanding transportation and money. Initial description matches 2 of our escaped inmates. A diversion, Marcus says immediately. They're drawing attention and resources south while the main operation stays hidden in Kentucky. You don't know that, Torres interjects, rejoining the group. This could be exactly what it looks like. Desperate fugitives making a play. Then why wait 3 days? Marcus counters. You escape from prison, you run. You don't hole up somewhere and then rob a bank. This is coordinated. Someone told them where to be and when. Cross looks between them. Agent Torres, take a team to Chattanooga. Agent Chen, continue analyzing the Kentucky property. Colonel Mitchell, Mr. Bennett, you're with me. We're going to brief the Joint Terrorism Task Force on what we know. Sir, with respect, Torres starts. Agent Torres, 40 armed fugitives are loose in my state. I don't care about jurisdictional protocols or clearance levels. I care about stopping them before more people die. Am I clear? Torres's jaw tightens, but he nods. Crystal, Governor. The group disperses to their assigned tasks. Marcus finds himself alone with Mitchell as they wait for Cross to finish a phone call. The older man studies him with an expression Marcus can't quite read. You've changed, Mitchell says finally. 12 years ago, you would have pushed back harder on exposing operational methods. You would have protected the source material, even if it cost lives. 12 years ago, I believed the system was worth protecting, that our operations, our secrets, were keeping the country safe. Marcus's voice is quiet but carries an edge. Then I spent over 4,000 nights in an 8x10 cell, watching men destroy themselves, knowing I was there because someone decided I was acceptable collateral damage. Changes your perspective on what's worth protecting. You're angry. I'm realistic. The agencies I served, the operations I ran, they'll sacrifice anyone to maintain secrecy, including you, Colonel, if it comes to that. So, yes, I'm exposing methodology. Because the alternative is letting Sarah Vickers and whoever she's working for build something that will cause exponentially more damage than revealing a few operational techniques. Mitchell is silent for a long moment. Sarah Vickers. You served with her for 3 years. You trusted her. I did. And now? Marcus thinks about the transport bay, about Vickers's face when she saw him, about the crack in her controlled exterior when she talked about wars that don't end and ghosts without pensions. Now I think she was broken by the same system that broke me. The difference is she found someone who offered her a way out and she took it. Can't say I wouldn't have done the same if someone had offered. But they didn't offer. They burned you instead. Yes. Do you want to know why? Mitchell's voice drops even lower. Why we chose you for the fall instead of Sarah or any of the others. Marcus meets his eyes. I've had 12 years to think about it, Colonel. I know why. I was single, no kids, no close family except Sarah, who was young enough to recover. I was expendable. The others had spouses, children, connections that would ask questions if they disappeared. I was the clean sacrifice. Mitchell doesn't deny it. It was supposed to be temporary. 6 months, maybe a year, until we secured the network and could bring you back in. But then the operation expanded, became more complex, and 1 year became 2, became 5, became 12. And at some point, the lie became easier than the truth. Appreciate the honesty, Colonel. Doesn't change anything, but I appreciate it. Governor Cross finishes his call and approaches them. The Attorney General wants daily briefings. The FBI director wants to know why I'm running operations without full federal oversight. And the press is asking questions about the escape that I can't answer without revealing classified information. He looks exhausted. Tell me we're going to solve this, gentlemen. Tell me this doesn't spiral into a national crisis. Can't tell you that, Governor, Marcus says bluntly. But I can tell you we'll do everything possible to contain it. Cross nods, accepting the reality. That'll have to be enough. Let's move. The JTTF briefing is in 30 minutes, and I want you there, Mr. Bennett. They need to understand what we're really dealing with. They load into an armored SUV, Cross, Mitchell, Marcus, and 2 state police protection officers. The drive to Nashville takes 40 minutes, during which Cross reviews briefing materials and Mitchell makes encrypted calls to contacts Marcus can only guess at. Marcus watches the Tennessee landscape roll past, farm country giving way to suburban sprawl, and thinks about his daughter, Sarah, 23 years old. Last time he saw her in person, she was 11, crying in the courthouse hallway while his attorney tried to explain why Daddy wouldn't be coming home. She'd been wearing a blue dress her mother bought for the trial, hoping to appeal to the jury's sympathy. Didn't work. The evidence was too strong, too perfectly arranged. His ex-wife Jennifer remarried 6 years ago. Good man, apparently. A high school teacher who treated Sarah well. Marcus was grateful for that. At least his daughter had a father figure who wasn't in prison. But gratitude didn't stop the hollow ache of missing 12 years. Missed birthdays, graduations, first dates, college move-in day. All sacrificed for operations that were supposed to matter. The SUV pulls into an underground garage beneath a federal building in downtown Nashville. They're escorted through security checkpoints and into a CIF, a sensitive compartmented information facility, a room designed to be completely secure from surveillance or eavesdropping. Inside, a dozen people wait. FBI, ATF, Homeland Security, State Police Command, and representatives from agencies Marcus doesn't immediately recognize. At the head of the table sits Deputy Director Sandra Reeves, FBI, a woman with 30 years in the Bureau and a reputation for ruthless efficiency. She looks at Marcus with undisguised skepticism. Governor Cross explained to me why a convicted murderer is present at a classified briefing. Cross doesn't flinch. Because Mr. Bennett has expertise relevant to this investigation and has been granted conditional release under my authority. Your authority doesn't supersede federal protocols. With respect, Deputy Director, this is my state, and these fugitives are my problem. Mr. Bennett has already provided intelligence that narrows our search parameters significantly. If you want to argue jurisdiction, we can do that after we've recaptured 40 dangerous men. The tension in the room is palpable. Finally, Reeves nods curtly. Fine. But everything said here is classified. Mr. Bennett, you understand the consequences of disclosure? I've been keeping classified secrets for 12 years, ma'am. I understand the stakes. Reeves doesn't look convinced, but she moves on. Bring us up to speed. For the next hour, they review everything. The escape, the extraction methodology, the inmate profiles, Marcus's analysis of the Kentucky property. Agent Chen presents her behavioral assessment, suggesting the operation is funded by either a hostile nation-state or a well-resourced criminal organization. Possibly both. The sophistication level is consistent with operations we've seen from Russian GRU or Chinese MSS, she explains, displaying surveillance footage from similar incidents overseas. But the target selection, American inmates with specific skills, suggests domestic application. Someone is building capability within the United States. For what purpose? Asks a Homeland Security representative. Marcus speaks up. That depends on who's funding it. If it's foreign intelligence, they're building a deniable force for operations on American soil. If it's criminal, they're creating a private military company that can operate without the legal constraints of legitimate contractors. Either way, the result is the same. A trained, equipped, and coordinated force that doesn't officially exist. Like the force you belong to, Reeves observes coolly. Yes, ma'am. Exactly like that. Which is how I know how dangerous it is. The briefing continues, assignments distributed, resources allocated. A surveillance team will monitor the Kentucky property. Tactical units will prepare for rapid deployment if confirmation is obtained. Intelligence analysts will trace financial networks in shell corporations. The machinery of federal law enforcement grinds into motion. but Marcus sees the looks exchanged, the skeptical glances. These people don't trust him. He's a wild card, an anomaly in their structured world. They'll use his information, but they won't truly include him in their operations. He's a tool, not a teammate, which is fine. He learned long ago to work around bureaucracy rather than through it. The briefing ends after 2 hours. People disperse to their assignments, leaving Marcus, Mitchell, and Cross in the CIF with Deputy Director Reeves. "Governor, a word in private," Reeves says, her tone making it clear it's not a request. Cross glances at Marcus and Mitchell. "Wait outside." They exit into a secure corridor lined with similar skiffs. Mitchell checks his phone while Marcus stands quietly, his mind cataloging everything from the briefing. The Kentucky property is the key. If he's right, and he's certain he is, that's where they'll find the training operation. But surveillance takes time and tactical operations take longer. Every hour that passes is another hour for Vickers and her team to realize they're being hunted. "You're thinking about going there yourself," Mitchell says without looking up from his phone. "Am I that obvious?" "You've got that look, the same one you had before you went off book in Bogota and nearly started an international incident. That operation succeeded, after you ignored direct orders and improvised a solution that could have gotten you killed." Marcus doesn't deny it. "If we wait for federal protocols and interagency coordination, Vickers will be gone. She's too smart to sit still once she knows we're looking. And if you go in alone and walk into a trap, if this is all designed to draw you out, then I die, and you'll have confirmation the Kentucky property is hostile. Win-win from a strategic perspective." Mitchell finally looks at him. "You've got a daughter who just got her father back. You really want to throw that away on a solo mission?" The door opens before Marcus can respond. Governor Cross emerges, his expression grim. Deputy Director Reeves is right behind him. "Change of plans," Cross says. "We just received a video, sent to every major news network 30 minutes ago. You need to see this." They return to the skiff, where a laptop displays a frozen frame of a video. Reeves clicks play. The video shows a man in his 60s, bound to a chair, clearly terrified. Behind him stands a figure in tactical black, face covered, voice distorted through electronic modulation. The state of Tennessee thinks it can imprison those who refuse to play by corrupt rules. The federal government thinks it can maintain systems of oppression through incarceration. Tonight, we prove them wrong. The distorted voice is calm, almost conversational. Judge Harold Morrison presided over hundreds of trials, sending men and women to prison for decades. He believed in the system. Let's see if the system believes in him. The figure places a gun against Morrison's head. "You have 48 hours to meet our demands. Release all prisoners serving nonviolent drug offenses in Tennessee. Transfer $10 million to accounts we'll specify. And broadcast a public apology from Governor Nathan Cross for his failures of justice." The figure pauses. "Or Judge Morrison dies. And he won't be the last. We have others. We have reach. We have nothing to lose." The video ends. The room is silent. Then Cross's phone rings. He answers, listens, his face going pale. "When? Are they certain?" He hangs up. "Judge Morrison was abducted from his home 4 hours ago. His security detail is dead. No witnesses, no evidence beyond the video." Marcus stares at the frozen image, at the tactical gear, at the professional stance of the figure holding the gun. He knows that stance. He's seen it before, in training facilities and operational briefings. "That's not one of the escaped inmates," he says quietly. "That's one of the operators. That's Sarah Vickers." Everyone turns to him. "How can you tell?" Reeves demands. "Body language, posture, the way she holds the weapon. I served with her for 3 years. That's Sarah." Which means this isn't just about building a training cadre. This is about making a statement, about showing the world that the system can be challenged, that authority can be defied. This is about revenge. And Marcus Bennett, who spent 12 years in silence to protect that system, suddenly understands with perfect clarity that silence is no longer an option. The safe house erupts into controlled chaos. Deputy Director Reeves mobilizes FBI hostage rescue teams. Governor Cross coordinates with state police to secure potential targets: judges, prosecutors, corrections officials. Colonel Mitchell makes encrypted calls to contacts whose names aren't spoken aloud, and Marcus Bennett stands at the tactical map, staring at the Kentucky property, knowing with absolute certainty that they're being played. "It's a diversion," he says, but his voice is lost in the urgency around him. Agent Chen appears at his elbow, her laptop open. "I've been analyzing the video metadata. It was recorded at least 6 hours before it was sent. Judge Morrison could already be dead, or he was never at the Kentucky location." Marcus points to the map. "Vickers knows we'll focus everything on rescuing the judge. She knows we'll commit resources, attention, personnel. While we're doing that, the real operation continues undisturbed." "Then what do you suggest?" Chen's tone is genuinely curious, not challenging. "We split our focus. Send the hostage rescue team to Kentucky. They'll find something, probably evidence that Morrison was there, maybe even minor players we can capture. But Vickers and the core team will be somewhere else, doing something we're not watching." "Where?" Marcus studies the map, thinking like his former teammate. Vickers was always 3 moves ahead, always setting up contingencies. The judge is leverage, but leverage for what? The demands in the video: release prisoners, pay money, public apology. Those aren't serious. No government negotiates with terrorists on camera, which means the demands are theater, designed to focus attention while the real objective proceeds. "What else happened today?" Marcus asks suddenly. "Besides the hostage video, what other incidents, crimes, unusual activities in Tennessee or surrounding states?" Chen pulls up a database, scrolling through reports. Armed robbery in Knoxville, domestic disturbance in Memphis, a warehouse fire in Lexington, Kentucky. She pauses. "Wait, the warehouse fire? Investigators found evidence of accelerants, possible arson. The building was owned by a Department of Defense contractor." Marcus's pulse quickens. "What kind of contractor?" "Cybersecurity and data storage. They handle classified material for multiple agencies." Chen looks up, understanding dawning. "Oh God, this isn't about the judge at all. It's about the data." Marcus is already moving toward Reeves. "Deputy Director, we need to divert resources to Lexington immediately." Reeves turns from her phone call, irritation flashing across her face. "Mr. Bennett, we have a hostage situation. That's designed to distract us from a data breach. The warehouse fire in Lexington, that contractor stores classified information. Vickers isn't building a training facility for random operations. She's after something specific, something valuable enough to risk this entire operation." Governor Cross joins them. "What kind of data?" "Personnel files, operations records, intelligence networks." Marcus's mind races through possibilities. "Think about it. Vickers was burned 12 years ago, same as me. If she's working for a foreign intelligence service or a criminal organization, the most valuable commodity she could offer is information about covert operations and operatives. Names, locations, methods. That data could compromise hundreds of ongoing operations." Reeves's expression shifts from irritation to alarm. "Colonel Mitchell confirmed this. Is that contractor storing that kind of information?" Mitchell's face is grim. "I can't confirm specific contracts, but yes, that facility handles sensitive material for DoD and intelligence agencies. If it's been compromised." He doesn't finish. He doesn't need to. Everyone in the room understands the implications. "How long ago was the fire?" Reeves demands. 4 hours, Chen reports. First responders contained it, but the building's internal systems were severely damaged. Investigators haven't been able to assess what was taken. Because by the time they assess, the data will be extracted, copied, and distributed. Marcus looks at Reeves. "You need to shut down every operation that contractor supported. Assume everything is compromised. Pull operatives from the field, lock down networks. Do it now, before this information reaches hostile hands." Reeves makes a decision. "Agent Torres, redirect tactical teams to Lexington. Treat it as an active espionage operation. Colonel Mitchell, Initiate flash protocols for all operations that facility serviced. She turns to Cross. Governor, I need authorization to declare a state of emergency and federalize state resources. You have it. Cross's voice is steady despite the magnitude of what's unfolding. Whatever you need. The room transforms into a command center. Screens display real-time updates from Lexington. Analysts begin cataloging what operations might be compromised. And Marcus watches it all, feeling the weight of recognition. This is exactly how Vickers would operate. Multiple objectives, layered deceptions, using the system's own protocols against itself. His phone buzzes. Not the burner they gave him, his old personal phone, recovered from evidence storage when he was released. He hasn't turned it on in 12 years, but someone activated it remotely and there's a single text message from an unknown number. You always were the smart one, Marcus, but you're still thinking like a soldier. I'm thinking like a survivor. The judge is fine, by the way. He'll be released unharmed in Kentucky exactly where you expect. But by then, I'll have what I came for, and you'll understand why some ghosts refuse to stay buried. S. Marcus stares at the message. It's a taunt, but it's also information. Vickers wants him to know she's ahead. She wants him to feel the frustration of being outmaneuvered. But why? What does she gain from engaging with him at all? Unless... It's personal, he says aloud. Colonel Mitchell appears beside him. What? This operation, it's not just about data or money or building a criminal network, it's personal. Vickers is sending me messages engaging directly. She wants me to know she's behind this. Marcus looks at Mitchell. Why? What does she gain from revealing herself to me? Maybe she wants you to join her. You were partners once. Or maybe she wants me to chase her. Marcus's mind works through the psychology. Everything tonight has been about misdirection. The judge, the data breach, even releasing me from prison. What if the real target isn't the data? What if it's me? Before Mitchell can respond, alarms sound throughout the facility. Red lights flash. Security protocols engage automatically. Chen's voice cuts through the chaos. We have a breach. Someone's accessing the SIF network remotely. On the main screen, files begin opening automatically. Classified briefings, operational plans, personnel records. And in the center of the screen, text appears, typed in real time. Hello, Marcus. Welcome back to the game. Let's see if 12 years in prison dulled your edge, or if you're still the operative I remember. The clock is ticking. 48 hours until everything burns. Choose wisely who you try to save. S. The screen goes black. The emergency lockdown transforms the federal building into a fortress. Technicians swarm the SCF, trying to trace the intrusion while analysts catalog what data was accessed. Deputy Director Reeves coordinates damage control with Washington, and Marcus Bennett stands perfectly still, understanding with crystalline clarity that everything, the prison break, the judge, the data breach, was orchestrated to bring him to this exact moment. She didn't take anything, Chen announces, confusion evident. The files were accessed but not downloaded. She just looked. She was proving a point. Marcus moves to the darkened screen, showing that she can reach into the most secure facilities whenever she wants, that no system is safe from her. Governor Cross joins him, exhausted but resolute. What does she want, Marcus? Really want? Vindication. The word feels right as Marcus speaks it. 12 years ago, our operation collapsed. People died. Sarah and I were both burned, but I accepted it. Stayed silent. Protected the system that destroyed me. She didn't. She refused to be acceptable collateral damage. So this is revenge. It's more than that. It's a demonstration. She's showing everyone, the agencies, the government, the people who made her disappear, that she's not powerless, that she has capabilities, resources, and nothing left to lose. Colonel Mitchell informs the team that Judge Morrison has been found unharmed, but the enemy facility in Kentucky was only a temporary base. Sarah Vickers has already moved. Marcus receives a message from her giving him 12 hours to decide whether to join her, with coordinates leading to a remote location in the Smoky Mountains. Despite warnings, Marcus insists on going alone, believing he is the target of her entire operation. Governor Cross reluctantly grants him 12 hours of autonomy. Marcus drives alone to an abandoned lookout tower where Sarah waits. She explains her mission: to expose how their government discarded and erased them after using them for secret operations. She offers Marcus a final chance to join her rebellion, claiming they deserve freedom rather than silence. Marcus refuses, insisting that some things are still worth protecting. Sarah leaves, revealing that her plan is already in motion and unstoppable. Marcus returns to face consequences, yet for the first time in years, he feels hope.